Ali?
Thank you. Let's keep it snappy. I don't have a particularly emotional attachment to the Town Hall, I have to say, apart from seeing my first concert there, Shaking Stevens, in the 1970s. Unlike David, which is probably much earlier, Fleetwood Mac or something, I imagine. But I hadn't made my mind up about the Town Hall until really the last couple of days. And I think that the information that we've been given has obviously in fact, I have previously said with the information that I have had that I didn't support retaining, restoring, rebuilding repairing the Town Hall. This, I believe, is not a Heritage New Zealand classified building. It is on our city plan, I think, as one of my colleagues has mentioned, but I'm hoping that that doesn't actually restrict in any way some of the changes that need to be made. I think it would be a different kettle of fish if it was actually a part of the Heritage New Zealand classification system. So the information that staff have provided and others has changed my mind. The other options that I was in favour of previously just don't seem to stack up as I thought that they did, and that's why I will be supporting the staff recommendation today.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? I'll just close off the debate then. I want to begin by rejecting the argument that this is an emotional decision attached to the connection with the building. And I, like everyone else, has got experiences. I went there on opening day. There was a big public open day, and I was 12 years old. And I remember looking at those designs on the sort of kind of what do you call them, the mural. We called them murals in those days, and in reflection of Hilda Ogden on Coronation Street. But the thing was that it was an amazing place. It really was, And as a 12-year-old looking around, it just really was quite outstanding. And I've seen great concerts there. I've performed on both stages, the James Hay and the auditorium stage. It wasn't called the Lilburn then, but and on both occasions people won't be surprised it was debating, not performing in any other way. But it was a fantastic place, and will be again. And it is a heritage building. It's listed on our city plan as a Category 1 building. And I think that if anyone's going to reflect on lessons learned, it should have been listed nationally. It is a terrible oversight that this building wasn't listed nationally, because I think that we would have had another champion at our side if it had been. And I think that would have been incredibly helpful. It meets every criteria to have been listed. So that is something that we need to take on board, and I know that Yanni has raised it before, that we've got to keep a constant vigilance for what is our next layer of heritage. The second point that I want to make is that it is repairable. I just want that moment to sink in for everyone. This is a building that can be repaired. And for me, the cost-sharing agreement, which I have remained committed to delivering on as part of an agreement that was entered into, the cost-sharing agreement said it was the council's decision about what would happen with respect to the Town Hall. But the most telling, and why I want this in the public arena, and I do apologise to the people at the end of the table, and why I wanted it read into the record, is people don't go back to the original deal that was done. And in the Central City Recovery Plan, it said the precinct designation will be sufficient to provide for a range of facilities in the event that the Town Hall cannot be repaired. So at the time that the Central City Recovery Plan was written, nobody had an expectation that you'd knock down a building that could be repaired. But it's not just any building. It's a Category 1 heritage building on our city plan. And I think that there is something terribly, terribly wrong in our city, and I've never really been able to put my finger on it. My husband has an expression which he uses from time to time. He says, I know, they've struck oil off the coast and they just haven't told anyone. They've got money to burn. There is something wrong in a city when people say it's okay to knock down repairable buildings because they're in the wrong place. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. Why isn't anyone saying that? You're not allowed to applaud, sorry. And there's also something even more wrong when people say it's okay to knock down a heritage building when it is repairable as well. And even if it's not economic to repair, the standard for knocking it down is very, very high. And that's why we have resource consent protections around our heritage buildings in terms of demolition. And yes, it only applies to the demolition part of it, or where there is a fundamental change to the character or it alters the heritage fabric of the building itself. But so even knocking down part of the building, that still requires us to meet a very, very high test. And that is the responsibility that you hold when you sit on a city council and make a decision like this. That is the obligation that we have to consider before we make decisions. But I think that, in a way, being carried away by the sort of almost the audacity and the magnificence of the blueprint and its announcement and the way that it was, I think people did get carried away with the sense of, we can have it all. We can have everything. We can knock down what we don't want. We can replace it with something brand new. And we are going to be able to afford to do that as a city and as a country with the central government support. And I think something got lost, something got swept away in the momentum of that occasion. And in a way, it's ended up holding us back. And the momentum that was supposed to be generated by that sense of excitement, I don't feel that sense of momentum right now. I actually want to recapture that sense of momentum. I don't regret for a minute that this council is debating it for the third time. I'm debating it for the first time as the mayor of the city. And the reason that I wanted to have in front of us a report, and I, like Glenn Livingston, didn't make comments about it until I'd read it. And I think that it is important to have in front of us an accurate, detailed assessment of what the options truly are. And I'm going to say this because the one thing that I have found actually quite inexcusable by the public discourse in this regard was the description of this as a lost opportunity, saying that this decision was the alternative to building a brand new performing arts centre precinct. Can I just say that that statement is inaccurate and misleading, utterly inaccurate and utterly misleading, because we now have the numbers in front of us. We can see that it's not accurate to say that we could even replace what we have now with the cost of repair if we were to build from scratch somewhere else. So it isn't correct that this is the alternative to having a brand new performing arts centre. This is a council exercising its legal obligations to protect its city's heritage. That is why we are elected, to represent those that aren't in the position to make those decisions for us. I think that the cost share agreement number was plucked out of the air. Anyone can quote me on that. And I think that it is important that we have now in front of us the facts of the matter so that we can consider the decision that we need to make today. And yes, Yanni, it is for once and for all. So on that note, I would like to separate off 22.1. I know that there were two elements that in the course of the debate that I do think that would be worthy of some consideration, but I don't think that we need to add them to it. But in the context of, have you got some words there that might be helpful? Which would be?
Well, I would simply just put a comma after repair, delete the word and then after restoration, add the words and improvement of functionality.
Well, that was previously being done. Is that's okay? I mean, that's within the heritage. Yep. Right.
This just encapsulates
Yep.
the need
No, that's
to,
good.
to
And the second thing that, and it was something Yanni said too, which was, imagine capturing all that energy to fundraising for components of the restoration. So I think that we might be looking at whether we can establish a fund that might actually enable people to contribute directly to the restoration project as well. All right, so I'll put that first recommendation. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
That's carried, and just mark Jamie Goff opposed. And then I'll put the remaining recommendations. That's right. I'll put the remaining recommendations. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried unanimous. Well, not unanimously, minus one. Very good. Right. We've got one other item on the agenda to deal with.